When I signed up for a job in public service, it shouldn't be a matter of life or death. It shouldn't be me risking my life in order to serve this community that I love. But April 30th was a little bit different.
Filthy rats! You're filthy rats! Rats have infiltrated America!
It's not a matter of if something happens. In this climate, it's a matter of when.
Freshman State Rep Sarah Anthony was at the front row of a year of unrest in Lansing, Michigan. From the large rallies against the election results to heavily armed anti-lockdown protesters storming the Capitol in April, to a recent terrorist plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, it all happened on Anthony's district. For Brut, she told me how she now fears for her life and what she's doing to protect it.
Much of the hatred that has been coming from the White House and other leaders from these very fringe right groups are very misogynist and very racist. I have always been taught by my parents how just the nature of my skin color in many circumstances and environments makes me a target.
I thought she was very gifted. She's, even as a child, she was very excellent. She was honor roll in school, author of the year. She just excelled in everything she did. Here's Sarah with Governor Whitmer.
That's when I was running for office.
She was running for office. She doesn't just carry the title of state rep, but she really do the work. I don't think she's easily intimidated by anything, that comes along, adversity and so forth. I think she's equipped for that. She's made for that.
I love when the school children come here to learn about the history of our state. They come here to just watch government at work. I sit on this side of the aisle. Our Democratic colleagues sit over here. The Republicans sit there. And where you're standing is where, many of the protesters on April 30th were yelling at us and brandishing their weapons.
Open the door! Open the door! This is our building!
To understand what happened that day, I spoke to Michelle Gregory, a 29-year-old mom and member of the Home Guard militia. She said the reason why hundreds of people came into the Capitol bearing arms was not only to protest COVID restrictions, but also because of what happened the day before.
So the 29th, me and my compadre here, and another lady, her name's Jennifer, we walked in and we were going to record our legislators because the biggest thing was people wanted to know what the legislators were doing that week. We have a First Amendment right, as well as the Michigan Open Meetings Act, where we are allowed to be here as normal citizens filming our legislators.
We're closed up here. We're closed up here now.
What's up?
They won't let us
The
in.
public is coming in the
That's
gallery.
illegal.
It is illegal.
That's illegal.
It's
This
illegal,
is our public
violating-
building. This is our house, so please call the cops. Here's my press pass.
Let's go.
Nope, you're not Capitol Police.
There is nobody here.
Let's go.
You are not allowed to touch me!
Let's go.
You are not allowed to touch me!
not allowed to touch
You are
her.
not allowed to touch me!
You're allowed to touch. You are You better let go, sir. In essence, I'm kind of glad it happened because a lot of people were like, holy crap, like they really don't want us to know what's going on. And so that's when, thousands of people showed up the next day, April 30th, where we stormed the Capitol. And I always laugh when they say that. And there was no storming. We were very polite. We were just loud.
Never in a million years years would I think that I would have to walk through an angry, screaming crowd waving Confederate flags as I went to work.
Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler! The winner! The winner! The winner! And winner! You're a tyrannous tyrant!
And something in me just broke.
I mean, it's just like a very unnerving feeling to have so many just absolutely angry and ridiculous people just yelling and screaming at you while you're trying to go into work. If anyone has an answer to, again, what Confederate flags, aborted babies, and AK-47s have to do with the stay-at-home order, please contact me directly.
And I was thinking to myself, am I gonna make it home okay? There was no exit plan. Any one of those protesters who was angry with my vote that day could have followed me home. And I just felt very vulnerable and felt very unprotected in that moment.
When I was watching our state rep, Sarah Anthony, who's actually, a Lansing born and raised person, and we elevated to that level, when I watched her shaking and crying on Facebook, I contacted Sarah Anthony and just told her how I felt about what was going on.
Michael Lynn was one of the 6 Black and Latinx gunmen and women who escorted Rep. Anthony to work. They're part of a local group advocating for minorities to use their Second Amendment right.
When they stormed the Capitol, a lot of the sentiment was if we did that as Black people, we'd be killed. But I don't want that narrative out there because that keeps guns out of our hands and then that keeps us weak, right?
When this photo went viral of Mike and I kind of walking into the Capitol building, I would challenge individuals who were angry about that photo. And I said, is it the guns or is it the skin color, right? Does gun ownership look different on me, on Mike, as it does, folks who, stormed our Capitol building?
A violent group of militant men planned to kidnap the governor of Michigan, overthrow that state's government, and incite a civil war. For some context here, remember the protests of the COVID lockdown back in April, when armed militia members stormed Michigan State Capitol building with high-powered rifles? Well, at least one of the suspects in this new plot was there at the protest.
God, you were getting respectable positions in real life. Nobody respects you. Nobody respects anything you guys do. You guys are not first responders.
Is this what you want?
These people were in our house. They were waving their guns that day. Some think that they were scoping out the place. And even in this day, right now, gunmen could come here and who knows what would happen. And so it's just, it's infuriating. And I just don't know what else can be done to change the minds of the people who can, at the drop of a hat, ban firearms in this building.
One of the reasons I wanted to tell you Sarah Anthony's story is this testimony she gave, pleading for weapons to be banned at her place of work. She said it's one of the rare times in her career she got emotional.
As the images of the gunmen's screaming outside the chamber began to stream across the country and the globe, I sat at my desk, talked to Rep. Carter, and prayed for peace. I remember seeing a missed call from my mom. She was worried that I wouldn't make it home. The presence of these weapons have not only created an environment of panic and anxiety for those of us who work here, but it also caused many of my colleagues to feel pressure to vote a certain way in order to protect ourselves from violence. By not banning firearms in this building, you are telling me that my life does not matter. And I am sorry, but when those white supremacists come into this building, they are targeting people that look like Representative Carter and I. We are terrified.
The Michigan State Capitol is one of the only ones in the country that does not ban guns. And it's a historical landmark, so ironically, you cannot go in with protest signs or flags because you could damage parts of the building or the paintings. But you can bring in semi-automatic weapons such as an AK-47 or an AR-15.
Would you prefer that I wasn't in politics anymore?
Yes.
Well, I still like the job. I'm not gonna let people intimidate me out of a job I like, though.
That's not Sarah.
No, that's not Sarah. After, weeks and weeks and months of pleading to our Republican leadership to ban firearms in this building, I think that it has shaped how I see this position and how I see my position as a Black woman in this country.
Nobody threatens these people. You've got some of those like fringe extremists, but that's in every group. We're not violent people. Nobody in that crowd is gonna go run in there and start shooting people up.
I never thought that I would, carry a bulletproof vest with me on the House floor. I usually have one now because I feel like I need it in order to be safe. I am not a gun person, right? I'm pro Second Amendment, but I do have a firearm now. I've never wanted a firearm. Guns make me uncomfortable. These experiences this year have really shaped how I look at the Second Amendment and how I look at how systems that are normally designed to protect us often fail us.